Let me introduce you all to Scilab software. This time we are going to conduct DSP lab using Scilab. Course coordinator is Vaisutha sir, myself Rajalakshmi Samaga, and Ashwini Holla madam, and Sandeep sir will be helping Vaisutha sir to conduct this lab. So let us introduce you all to Scilab. Last time we have conducted DSP lab in MATLAB. This time we are switching over to Scilab. The reason behind it is open source and freely available on the net. Please download Scilab 6.1.0. Depending upon your system configuration of 64-bit or 32-bit, a corresponding Scilab version needs to be downloaded and installed in your laptop or in PC. It's a very high level and highly numerical computational efficient programming language, and it is an alternative to MATLAB and the GNU Octave. It is extensively used in the field of signal processing, statistical analysis, image enhancement, numerical optimization, modeling simulation of explicit and implicit dynamical system. There are four useful workspace available in Scilab. First one is a console for making all the calculations. There is an editor for writing the programs. There is a graphical window system for displaying the graphics, and you also have embedded help required to write the program in Scilab. In this particular tutorial class, I'll be dealing mostly with the console, how to make use of console to write the statements and to make the mathematical computations. A little bit let us also look into the help what we have got in case of Scilab. I hope all of you have downloaded Scilab 6.1.0, and you might be seeing this icon on your desktop. So you need to double click on this icon. When you double click on this, once you double click on the Scilab icon, this window will appear on your screen. This window consists of a console window. This is your console window wherein you are going to write the statements, and even after the execution of a program, you can observe the results on this particular window. Then we have a file browser. You can see here the files that are used by us that can be observed here, and we have got a variable browser wherein it lists all the variables that we are going to use or have used in the writing the program Scilab earlier. And this is your command history. All the commands that has been used will be listed in the command history. Once you in the console window, you will be seeing there is a sign. This is called as a prompt sign. You can see this as a prompt sign, and against this prompt sign, now please type this hello, DISP, this, and the quote hello, HELLO. Once you type this for hello and press the enter key, you will be seeing this as your output. This is your output. Hello will be typed on the console window. To begin with, please type this hello and press the enter key. You will be observing hello on the console window. So let us move on to example 2, wherein we are assigning x value is equal to 2, y value is equal to 9, and we are going to compute z equal to x plus y to the power 3. From the previous example, we have already got hello on our console window. Now let us type x equal to 2 and press the enter key. You will be observing 2 will be assigned to x, And similarly, we'll assign 9 to y by typing y equal to 9 and pressing the enter key. We will be seeing 9 will be assigned to y. Now our intention is to compute the value of y, that is equal to x plus y to the power 3. We will write that on the console window and press the enter key. We will be seeing z will be having the value 1331. Now I want to clear the screen. I have already got hello value there. I have already got x value there. I want to clear the screen. I want to make it very blank. In that case, I have to type CLC. Against a prompt window, type CLC and press the enter key. You will see that entire console window, whatever variables you have, whatever statements you have written, commands you have given earlier, all get erased. So it clears the console window. Now we'll see example number 4. Now I want to know the value of E, and you know that this value is around 2.718, and I also want to know the value of phi, which is 3.1401. So how to write this? You cannot simply write E in case of Scilab. You have to write percentage %E and press the enter key, and you will see that its value will be displayed on the screen. That is 2.7182818 will be displayed on the screen. Similarly, if you want to get the value of pi, then you have to type percentage pi, and when you write percentage pi, you will be getting the value of pi, that is equal to 3.1415927. We'll go to the example 5, where I want to enter a complex constant. Usually a complex constants, we usually enter it as 3 plus 2j or 3 plus 2i. But in Scilab, j operator is not there. We have to make use of I. We have to make use of I in order to represent the imaginary part of a complex constant. How do we represent? We have to make use of the operator percentage I. So how I have written here is 3 plus 2 multiplied by percentage I. This multiplication operator is a must. You cannot avoid it. You have to write the multiplication operator 3 plus 2 multiplied by percentage I. Since I have not assigned this to any variable x earlier, x here, so therefore you will get this as soon as you press the enter key, you get it as answer ANS equal to 3 plus 2i. So it will consider that as a answer as a variable. ANS is a variable which has been assigned the value 3 plus 2i. We'll go to then very important thing is percentage sign you cannot avoid. If you don't use this percentage sign, then whatever value you have given earlier, if it is 2, then 2 multiplied by 2, it will come as 4. But you want to display it as I, therefore you have to enter this percentage sign. Not only that, you have to use this multiplication sign. You cannot get away without writing this multiplication sign. These two things you have to keep in your mind whenever you are writing a complex constant. Example number 6. I want to evaluate a value is equal to 2 divided by root 2. We know the answer as root 2. Now we'll come to the console window and we'll type this a is equal to 2 divided by square root. We usually have a function called as a sqrt. Sqrt in the bracket, right? 2. Then you will see when you press the enter key, you will see that a value is assigned 1.4142136. Suppose if you don't want to observe the variable a, then just put a semicolon, then press the enter key. When you enter a semicolon at the end of a command line, the calculation whatever is done, but the result will not be displayed on the console. As you can see here, the result is not displayed on the console. Example number 7. So if I want to define a column vector, let the column vector that I need to display is 1, -1 and 1. How do I write it? A command, a statement, what I need to write is A is equal to, in the square bracket, 1 semicolon -1 semicolon 1. The moment I write this semicolon, it comes to the next line. So therefore you can observe here A is equal to 1 in the first row, -1 in the second row, and 1 on the third row. That is how it is going to display. So you need to write whenever you want to jump to the next row, you have to use this semicolon operator. Example number 8, I want to define a row vector. A row vector is defined as A is equal to 1 -1 1 or A equal to 1 comma -1 comma 1. So these are the two ways I can get the row vector. So against the prompt sign, I have written here, you can see A equal to, in the square bracket, 1, there is a gap, -1. Once again I left a gap, 1. So when I press the enter key, I will be getting the answer as A equal to 1, -1 and 1. Same thing I can get without leaving a space between the two constants. That is A is equal to, in the bracket, 1 comma -1 comma 1. I will be getting the same answer as previous one. That is A equal to 1 -1 1 exhibited in a row. We'll go to example number 9. I want to define a matrix. The matrix is 1, 2, 3 are the elements of the first row, 4, 5, 6 are the elements of the second row, 7, 8, 9 are the elements of the third row. How do I go about it? I have to type first A is equal to, in the square bracket, 1 space 2 space 3, then semicolon to move to the second row, 4 space 5 space 6, put a semicolon so that we can move to the third row, 7, 8, 9. So when I press the enter key, you will be getting a value of A is equal to 1, 2, 3 are the elements of first row, 4, 5, 6 are the elements of the second row, 7, 8, 9 are the elements of the third row. Now, same matrix definition can be used for tabular display. That I have shown it here. I want A value PQR STU VWX. Same thing I have written here, but here PQR are the variables. So therefore, I have written it in quotes. So A is equal to PQR semicolon STU semicolon VWX semicolon, and press the enter key. You will get PQR STW and STU VWX. Suppose if you have not put this quote, then what happens? It will take the value of P and that value of P will be entered. For example, if P was assigned 1, Q was 2 and R was 3, then instead of, since if you have not used this quote, then it will display as 1, 2, 3. So therefore, if you want to display the variable, you have to put it under the quotes. Example number 11. I want to get the value of A is equal to e to the power x divided by factorial x. Now, if I don't define the value of x now, then I have used earlier x value. There I have got it as 1331. It will take that value and it will proceed. Therefore, now I want to take the value of x equal to 5. So I need to define that first. So I have defined the value of x equal to 5. Then I have typed the statement. A is equal to exponential x divided by factorial of x, and I have put a semicolon, so answer will not be displayed. Whatever you have, it will be evaluated and it will be there in A, but answer will not be displayed because I have put a semicolon. So if I want to see whether what value has been entered into A, then I need to type A and enter the key. Enter key I need to press. So I will be getting the value of A, and this A value will be displayed on the console window. Now, let me say that suppose you don't know what has to be entered, whether the built-in function is factorial exists in Scilab or not. In that case, you can make use of tab key. So you can go to the tab, you can write FA, then press the tab key. Or if you know factorial, you can write FACT, then press the tab key. So the moment you do that, you will see that you will get a what function you can use to denote the factorial one. I have taken an example here. I have shown it here. You can see that here I have written, this is the one, A is equal to, you can observe here, A is equal to exponential of x divided by, then I don't know the exact built-in function of factorial. So I have written here as a factor, then I have entered the tab key. I press the tab key. When I press the tab key, I have two things. One, either I can choose factors or I can choose the factorial. Now I know that it is factorial. So I have to click on this. Then I am going to get this factorial. This is how you can make use of built-in functions. You can get the built-in functions that are available in the Scilab. What are the available, some of the built-in functions that are available in Scilab I have listed here. Square root of x, log x, exponential x, absolute value of x, and the integer value of x, floor x, seal x. All these things, please go through it, type and see how you are going to observe the values. Factorial, for probability and statistical, some of the built-in functions are factorial, grand, then sum, sum, length, gsort. Length we are going to use very much in the DSP lab. Mean, a standard deviation, bar, RAND, random, and floor are some of the built-in functions. Display and plot. You have CLF, that is in order to clear the figure we use the CLF. Plot, line space, SCF, surf, bar, plot are some of the built-in functions under display and plot. The display, we have already used, you have seen that. XClick. Some of the utility built-in functions are unique, sum, product, find, display, string, format, zeros, so on, which we'll be seeing it later. And some are very important here. Tick-tock. Tick-tocks always represent, you start a clock and tock stops the clock. So you can compute the computational time to execute a particular set of commands. So the menu bars, if you look at, it has got a command history. In the beginning itself I have told. Then one more is called as variable browser. What are the advantages of this command history and the variable browser? Command history allows you to find all the commands from the previous sessions to the current sessions. So you will know that what are the commands you have used earlier, and you will be from the and you can make use of it in the present session. And the variable browser will help you to find all the variables which are used previously, and sometimes we need not use those, you cannot use those variables in this particular session. So therefore it is very helpful to go through the variable browser and choose a new variable to identify a particular value. Then you have, if you go to the edit, and then in the edit you have the last row that gives you the preferences. You can go to the preferences, you can set many parameters can be set in Scilab. You can increase the size of the fonts. If you want to make it less, you can make it less, and you can choose a particular color. All these preferences you can give it using this preferences. You can go to the edit menu, and under the edit menu you have preferences. Choose that preferences and set all the values that are required for the screen projection. Now suppose if you want to interrupt a running program, sometime your program might have gone beyond control. It might have gone to an infinite loop. Then I need to interrupt the program. There are many ways of interrupting the program that are listed in this particular slide. And the editor window, next tutorial will be on the editor window. We need to, when there are plenty of statements to execute a program, then we cannot make use of console. It is not possible to save the commands, and also we cannot edit. Sometimes it is not possible to edit on the console window. In such cases, we have to go to the editor window. We'll type the program, then we'll run the program, and we'll come back and see what is the answer in the workspace. For that, we are going to use the editor window that is called a SciNote, which I'll be explaining you in the next tutorial.